Across Eastern and Southern Africa, smallholder farmers, especially women and youth, are on the front line of climate change. They sustain food systems, yet their voices are too often absent in shaping policies and resources. Esaff empowers farmers to take part in policy dialogues, influence decisions, and demand funding for climate adaptation and ecological agriculture. At national level, Esaff supports smallholder farmers to engage governments in planning, budgeting, and monitoring agricultural and climate programs, ensuring resources reach those most affected. At regional and continental levels, Esaff amplifies farmer and youth voices in high-level platforms, including the Africa Climate Summit, where farmers advocated for presented agroecology-driven solutions for resilience and food sovereignty. At the summit, here is what smallholder farmers called for.
My name is Rachel Matabate. What we are looking for as farmers, we are looking for action, especially in agroecology, that we have to fight for agroecology. The members of the state have to do fundraising, they have to fund farmers, because farmers really, they are working hard, but they need the support from the government.
Kwa jina naitwa Apollo Chamwela, ni mkulima mdogo kutoka nchi ya Tanzania. Sisi kama wakulima tunachokihitaji sasa ni matokeo ya hayo majadiliano yanayokubaliana. Kwa mfano uwekezaji wa fedha, kuhakikisha kwamba wanaongeza juhudi katika nchi zote za uvunaji wa maji, lakini pia kilimo cha ekolojia pia kipewe nafasi katika nchi zote ili kukabiliana na haya mabadiliko ya tabia nchi. Viongozi wetu wajaribu sasa kuhakikisha kwamba yale wanayojadiliana basi yanafanywa kazi ili kuweza kuondoa athari kubwa za haya mabadiliko ya tabia nchi.
My name is Justus Lavi. I am the national chairman of the Kenya Small Scale Farmers Forum. We are affected at one time by droughts, affected by floods. So the middle point where we should get benefit, we really get it. And that's where there is the elements of mitigation and adaptation. And there's a lot of activities that should be done, because climate change has come because of environmental degradation. So to mitigate, we need to address the issues that are affecting the climate. And we small-scale farmers at grassroots village level, we need to be empowered. We need to be supported by government, local governments, and national government, and even at the continental government, even at the global level, so that once we are able to adapt, then we'll be able to continue with our activities of food production.
Hello, my name is Damalite Vajikira. I work for the African Center for Green Economy. So obviously Africa is faced with the impacts of climate change, with floods and massive droughts affecting the most vulnerable, of which part of this group are smallholder farmers. In terms of ways in which you can help the farmers build resilience against the impacts of climate change, I would think about the need for them to adopt technology in context of drought. For example, in Ethiopia, looking at Ethiopia 10 years ago, they've been battling with droughts really, and for them, the use of technology, in this case sprinklers and even drought monitoring systems, has enabled them adapt to the impacts of climate change. So if this is really taken into consideration by a lot of African countries across the continent, this can really be helpful. Yeah, so the other one will also be on trying to push for the need to support African countries or even local communities with climate finance. And by this, ensuring that climate finance really reaches those that truly deserve it. The locals on ground, the small-scale farmers in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya, doing work, putting into consideration mechanisms and strategies that can be geared to make sure that these funds reach to those that really need them, would also be an added advantage. And in this way, they will be able to adapt to the impacts of climate change.
My name is Bernard from Ghana. It is only fair that we hold the governments of Africa very accountable even though the little funds, the funds that have come in have been termed as little. But I believe that if we are more accountable to the people, we'll be able to track down the impact of that small fund that we termed and its impact on the citizens. So it is a call to all African leaders to be more accountable and transparent with climate funds that have come in to help us to be more resilient and adaptive to the challenges that are being confronted with the climate change.
Hello, my name is Doreen Menomoho. I'm from Nigeria. Smallholder women farmers contribute a huge amount of the food we consume in my country, but yet they don't have the funds to adapt to the impact of climate change. This is creating a high injustice in my country in the sense that, first of all, it affects their livelihood and it reduces their bargaining power in the home front, hence exposing them to other issues like gender-based violence. The solution, I would say, is that smallholder farmers should be carried along in decision-making process. So when the local government is creating their annual budget, when the state is creating their budget, they should carry the smallholder farmers along in the budgeting process. So it's like an open governance, it's like participatory budgeting. Participatory budgeting is one of the solutions for smallholder farmers to carry them along in the process of budgeting so that these farmers can prioritize climate adaptation projects that they want to help them adapt to the impact of climate change.
Hello, my name is Renfrida from Tanzania, and in this ACS 2025 that is going on in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we're urging more support in agricultural practices, especially in agroecology. Also, the most important thing in doing all these practices, we're here to discuss on how we can ensure the better inclusion of community members in climate adaptation practices, because we cannot just go forward and implement our solution while these communities member, they already have their ideas, they already have their ways of doing these practices in fighting for climate for years. So we usually have to look back and we have to make sure the ideas and everything is included in our implementation. Another important thing that we are urging more here as youth is we need support from development partners in our innovation ideas, because we already have ideas, we already have the solution, and we have also started to implement some of the solution, but we still need support, we still need funding and every necessary resources that might help us to implement these ideas to help the community to build the resilience and to fight climate change effect in our communities.
Habari Africa, my name is Kataliza Ramudia. I am from Botswana. I am particularly interested in how we can use agriculture or food security as a tool for economic empowerment. And now that we are at the ACS2 summit here, my call to leaders is for them in negotiation, in financing, in planning, and even in inclusion, for them to particularly make sure that they cover young people and women, as they are the majority in Africa's population. And they are, so whatever decisions that happen is that we get to benefit the most or we get to be the most affected. When we speak about the Paris Agreement, how farmers actually get to know what these mean to them, we need to break it down to their language, we need to do the consultations, and we need to make sure that we implement it from country level to regional level. And I think for my country, Botswana, and as the SADC region generally, we are very behind in terms of implementing it. And I call even our leaders, not just in SADC but in Africa, to implement the Paris Agreement so that we are at par together as we champion and make our way to COP.
My name is Blaise Amon, and I'm the program officer at Asareka. It's very important to involve farmers. Farmers are very practical people. They also know their farms. They have gone through the challenges. Farmers are very resilient people. My call to the Africa Climate Summit development partners is to invest more on research that will have a linkage with the farmers. On another note, I would urge the development partners to support the regional organizations that support sharing of knowledge and practices among countries.
Asante sana. Mimi kama ulivyosema ni mwenyekiti wa kamati ya wataalamu na mabalozi wanaosimamia masuala ya mabadiliko ya tabia nchi barani Afrika. Kazi kubwa ya hii kamati au kwa Kiingereza inaitwa African Group of Negotiators kuhakikisha kwamba maslahi mapana ya Afrika yanazingatiwa katika majadiliano sasa hivi kuelekea COP30. Kwa hiyo wakulima ni sehemu muhimu na hasa kwa kuzingatia kwamba mabadiliko ya tabia nchi yanaathiri kilimo pakubwa, iwe kwa ajili ya mafuriko, iwe kwa ajili ya kuongezeka kwa magonjwa, iwe kwa ajili ya ukame. Wakulima ndio wanaathirika zaidi. Kwa hiyo katika maeneo yetu ya msingi ambayo tunayajadili na kuyasimamia, swala la wakulima tunalipa kipaumbele sana, na utaona katika mjadala wa global adaptation, katika mjadala wa masuala ya utekelezaji wa mipango ya kitaifa ya kusimamia mabadiliko ya tabia nchi, katika mjadala wa kuhakikisha kwamba tunatekeleza mpango tulioweka kama nchi tunaita NDCs, wakulima wamepewa kipaumbele. Kwa hiyo mitandao yoyote inayohusisha wakulima tunachagiza tufanye nayo kazi kwa karibu kuhakikisha kwamba maslahi yao mapana yanazingatiwa katika kazi zetu.
In Addis Ababa, African leaders came together with a clear message. Africa is not only suffering from climate change, but it is also part of the solution. Finance was at the heart of their declaration. Africa needs over $3 trillion by 2030 to meet its climate goals. But so far, only a small fraction has been received. Leaders demanded that rich countries step up, provide funds as grants rather than loans, and reform global finance systems so Africa is not trapped in debt. Food security and farming were highlighted. As central to Africa's resilience, leaders reaffirmed the Kampala-Kadap Declaration, which commits governments to invest in sustainable agriculture. This includes indigenous seeds, irrigation, insurance for farmers, and stronger value chains, especially to support smallholders, women, and youth. Nature and technology were also recognized as powerful allies. Leaders pledged to restore degraded lands, protect forests like the Congo Basin, safeguard oceans, and advance the Great Green Wall. At the same time, they called for more investment in early warning systems, digital agriculture, and locally adapted technologies. Alongside traditional knowledge, adaptation was declared Africa's top priority. From climate-resilient cities and safe water systems to stronger health services and disaster response, leaders called for urgent international support. They also demanded quick access to the Loss and Damage Fund to help countries recover from extreme climate disasters. Finally, the declaration acknowledged that climate change is not only an environmental issue but also a threat to peace and security. Droughts, floods, and crop failures are fueling conflicts and forcing people to migrate. Leaders urged global partners to support Africa in building resilience, peace, and stability, while Africa forges a green, sustainable, and fair future.